Okay, good morning, everybody. Wow, people are already in the house. They got their coffee together, and we're getting ready to get started. We got the bilingual stock market channel in the house. Alvaro, good morning, Alvaro. Good morning, Beverly. Good morning, Ino. Good morning, Lynn. How's everybody doing this morning? What a fascinating week this has been. What a fascinating week. Let's see here. We had earnings yesterday after the close. Let's go ahead and bring those up too. What about that Intel report, huh? Of course, I don't even know what this company is right here, MXL, 42%. Might have to look into that. Good morning, everybody. Waiting for everybody to come into the house. We'll give people 1 to 2 minutes to go ahead and for the latecomers to come in. Good morning, SK is in the house. Good morning, guys. We are still still pushing against this resistance area right here for the longest time. We're in a bull flag continuation. It's a consolidation pattern right now, but it's in the consolidation phase of a bull flag continuation pattern. You know, war talk or no war talk, you need to separate yourself sometimes from the things that are hanging over your head and just look at the technicals. Sometimes I try to imagine I'm from a different planet and I just came here, and if I'm looking at this chart, what would I do? If you guys play that game with me for a second, we don't have any news about what's going on in the U.S. We don't know anything. We're aliens. We showed up here, okay? And we were taught some trading fundamentals in regards to, trading technicals, okay? So we don't want to confuse those things. Trading technicals, we look at this chart. We look at this chart of the SPY where it's just ran up, but then went sideways, right through here, right? So now it's going sideways for the longest time right here. And, what would we do? We would actually be saying this is very, very, very bullish. Am I saying we're going to go to all-time highs? You know what? The market's being driven by geopolitical issues right now. So you can't necessarily say we're going to go up to all-time highs. But at the same time, you also got to kind of put aside some of your bias in regards to seeing what's going on with the news. And the way this ping pong ball has been being played, be getting tacoed constantly. The fierce administration is speaking on one side and the market drops. And then all of a sudden, for the 10th time, Truce is he's going to extend the ceasefire. Enough of that. Okay. I think the market's tired of it. I'm tired of it. And so, you know what? Right now, we're just looking at the technicals, and the technicals say this is bullish. But there's some things underneath the hood, and that's why you got the thumbnail that I had. So we're going to get started. Welcome, Aisha, Gileande, and Felicia. Welcome into the house. We were waiting for you guys to get started, and now we can go ahead and get started. So here we go. Let's go ahead and start with just where are we at right now in the futures. So let me pull open that. There we go. We're not going to jump ahead to that. So where are we at in the futures? Well, it's kind of almost like Groundhog Day around here, except right here. Look at this, the NASDAQ. I think the NASDAQ has been up for something like 12 or 14 straight days. And then semis I saw today, they've been up for 17 straight days. Semis have been up for 17 straight days. Incredible. So, yeah, it's pretty flat across the board. But when you look at the NASDAQ is just ripping. And what is that? That's the semis pretty much ripping into the NASDAQ. And funny thing is that, we had the semis kind of had help with software, but software blew up. And yet the NASDAQ still is ripping up thanks to the Intel report that came out overnight. And now, look, oil's actually pulling back a little bit. So that's giving a little more relief to the market as well. Your VIX is pulling back slightly, and your bonds are moving up slightly. So it's all in line with oil. Oil is like the center of the universe for, trying to actually see what's going on with this. But then also the center of the universe is the semis. And that's the reason why you have my thumbnail. I worked for a while on that thumbnail because I was like, you know what, semis, they're on top of this ice right now, but the but the oil market is kind of heating it up from underneath. So is it going to bust through or is it not going to bust through? Well, right now you got to go with the flow. Okay, that's what you do when you're trading around here. You go with the flow. You don't go against the flow. Dollar is down. Okay, so actually this is actually setting up real nice for a positive return, right, or for a positive Friday on the market. It looks like we're getting a little bit of a bounce out of these metals. The metals have been pretty concerned about the inflation read, and the inflation read once again comes down to this oil. Once again, center of the universe. It will actually trump. It will trump semis. Semis can actually take it over for a day, but the longer story right now is what is going to happen with oil. So that is a longer story. But right now, what's in the market right now is semis. So I wanted to take a look at the performance here, and you can see that the semis, they're trending up, right? So they're actually trending just like that. And that's a good trend. And then on top of that, you got XLPs that kind of up for the week. But if you look, it's kind of sideways. And so XLK, it was trending up, but it took a fall yesterday. So it's kind of gone to a sideways trend. XLI sideways. XLE, okay. Well, XLE, even though it's kind of down, it is trending up. You notice that? Okay. So let's continue to look at this, all right? Because what I'm trying to do is actually present a backdrop for your trading, right? So XLRE sideways to down, XLB sideways slightly down, probably a little inflation concerns. XLY is down, so probably some economy concerns there. XLV slightly down but sideways, and XLF really it's flat to down. XLU, this has been an up-and-comer just over the last couple of days. Is this becoming a canary in the coal mine? Is money actually looking to flow into XLU? XLU, for a while, people were looking at it as a sort of like the bullets trade for the AI, because energy was actually really being focused on in regards to being a bottleneck. So that actually, it's no longer totally a protectionist stock. All right, or a protectionist sector. And then XLC, XLC is flat to down. So what do we get out of this? Okay, what you got out of this is semis are actually ruling the day and continue to ramp up, right? However, XLE is trying to make a comeback, right? So XLE was sitting down here at the lows, okay, and it's actually continuing to trend a little bit higher. So we got to keep an eye on that, and that will make a play, will make a difference in the stock market. Let's go over here. It's the end of the week, so you know what? It kind of makes sense to do this. Let's take a look at the groups here. I don't know if you've ever gone into FinViz and done this. Let's scope it out just a little. But let's take a look at yesterday's performance. So there was your utilities we just got done talking about. And industrials and consumer defensives, they actually had a pretty decent day yesterday. But is that consistent with what we're seeing on the week? So consumer defensives, look here. Consumer defensives, actually, they're doing pretty good on the week. So hey, that's something to put in your mind right now. Is the market actually thinking about rotating out of some of this stuff and thinking about moving it more into a defensive posture? Okay, real estate, that's an interesting one with the interest rates. Feeling like the interest rates are actually wanting to push higher, but as you can see today, we're getting a little bit of a cool off on it. On interest rates, it's pretty much staying, or the real estate has pretty much been down around the middle of the pack. So let's see, where's it at right here? Yeah, just down in the middle of the pack. So there's nothing really to be making a thing about. Now, technology took a little bit of a retreat yesterday, and that was probably due to the whole ServiceNow thing. And now today, it's probably doing much better. But you can see technology is actually ruling the day. It's ruling the month. And so continuing to actually hold this market up. And honestly, when you take a look at the market and you look into my ratio grids, right? We take a look at the ratio grids, and I didn't have these prepared for you here yet, but it only takes a second to load them. Anyhow, you take a look at these ratio grids, and it takes a second for me to load. Give me a second here. They are actually screaming for that technology, and the semis, they're ripping up. See here? And we pointed this out yesterday, but then, the semis are continuing to rip up. But what also kind of stands out is that every other chart is going down. Okay? Every other chart is going down. You only have this possible, let's go ahead and delete this now. You only have this possible, what I'm calling a canary in the coal mine possibility right here, that it's going up, right? And if that actually then begins to pick up some steam on that, what's that going to do to the market? And not only that, here's what I'm thinking about. So if this is the only pillar, and I have to say, I'm now wondering if this is actually beginning to have a pullback. You see how it's curving down, and it's curving down on that ServiceNow news, and then the reinvigoration of this whole AI disruption thing. Is this actually going to now pull back into the moving averages, which, it always pulls back into the moving averages or waits for the moving averages? Well, if that's the case, if this ends up pulling down, let's say it pulls down into the moving averages, right? And this is the only thing holding up the market. And we're going into earnings with some of these big players next week that are actually in this SMH space. And it's already ripped up going into earnings. I don't know if you guys have actually paid attention to this or not, but when stocks are ripping up going into earnings, they usually fade after they get their initial rip. So that's something that I'm thinking about. And I'm thinking we could actually bust over top of this buy and make some all-time highs, maybe make some newer highs. We go into earnings next week, buy the rumor, sell the news. That could actually be the situation. And this is what I get out of trying to actually lay a foundation of a framework. So when you're trading the stock market, you're trading from a contextual understanding. I am a technical trader. You guys know that. I actually write indicators, but at the same time, I'm actually building a contextual understanding about what is actually going on in the market. And I'm trying to understand what sectors is it that I want to pay attention to and what sectors do I want to be in. So let's take a look at the maps right now, too. And what I did was I pulled up the ETF. Oh, I had it pulled up. I guess it took it all. Okay, I want to show you this. I want to look at the ETFs. And since it's the end of the week, let's look at the 1 week performance, okay? And so what stands out in here? Let's look for the highest green there is. Well, obviously, SOX stands out. You know, you got a little bit of love there for your triple small cap stocks. You got, I guess, energy is up a little bit, right? So energy's up. Gold is down. Silver, we're going to throw silver into that mix too, as being down. And it looks like, once again, I think we need to start watching Bitcoin, because if Bitcoin decides to take off, it could be like that one of those IGV plays, where IGV was incredible, guys, for the last couple of weeks, 20-something% in a couple of weeks, okay? Bitcoin's been beaten down. Is it actually looking to make a turnaround? So I would actually keep that on your radar. And of course, USO continues to actually be this thing that's kind of heating up that thin ice from underneath. I do believe that these things are actually, these two here are living in conjunction with each other, but I do believe they are actually in a battle to see what's going to end up happening. And with SOX having run up 17 straight days, put that in your memory, 17 straight days the SMH has run up. It's a record. It's never done that before. It's just been amazing. Can it continue to go longer? It sure can. Is there a sell signal? There is no sell signal, okay? So just to put that all into your mind, SOX is going to have a pullback sometime. And even if it has a 50% pullback, that'd probably be a great place to buy, because the story on that is actually, it's not ending, okay? So going into the, not going into the charts, we're going over here. We're just doing a quick look at what ended up happening yesterday. All right, so yesterday was pretty much a sideways day, but what ended up happening was, if you guys remember, we had this massive breakdown, and then what ended up happening was a V-shaped rip, a V-shaped rip. You know what? I made money on that breakdown, and I took my money off as soon as I began seeing. As soon as it hit my zone, and I showed you guys the zones that I was looking at yesterday in the pre-market when we actually did our numbers, for the SPY. And as soon as it hit one of those zones, I took my money off. And thank God I did, because it would have took all my money right back away from me and maybe even put me underwater. I had a great in right around here. And so that would have actually been break even if I ended up buying or selling and holding. So this market rewards those who are actually quick in and out right now, especially if you're day trading it. If you're swing trading it and you've been swing trading into the right stocks, boy, you've been doing great. So congratulations to you. Let's go ahead and let's take a look at the charts. Let's see here. We'll go over here. We'll go back to the flexible grid. Let's do our SPY chart to begin with. As I said, the SPY is actually jammed tight. This is your daily down here on this this right here, your daily. The SPY is above all of the moving averages except for the 5. The 5 is actually beginning to slope up. All of your moving averages sloping up, and your moving averages are stacked. We got a nice lower wick right here. That was look at the buy on this. Look at the buy on this. When you look at the hourly chart, it just ripped. Okay. You know what this is telling you? Let me show you what this is actually saying. Okay. We're going to come over here into the daily. I'm not going to zoom it out to weekly again. Okay. I'm going to just do like this. All right. Everybody knows that buying when there is a war or when there's some kind of geopolitical conflict is actually an excellent opportunity to make money. And so, you know what? We have people down here, they bought the dip, okay? And these guys were not your retail traders. You know who these guys were? They were institutions. The retail traders, I think they got left behind. When you look at all the puts that are in the system, a lot of those puts were retail traders. You know what? These people who buy down here, they don't sell. They hold forever. So this thing ripped. They continued to buy. All right, they continue to scale in. People with trillions of dollars bought this market and continued to scale in. You know what that ends up making the market look like? It looks like this, because these guys are strong hands. They're not going to just sell on the first time it's actually going down. And that's why I'm beginning to actually look at this consolidation. Don't get me wrong. You know, this could easily pull back into the zone. And you know what? If it does, then I'll look for I'll look for the levels there that I've actually, you know, with Fibonacci's in order to look for a swing long on this. But right now, this market is saying it wants to go long, and it's pressing. It's continuing to press into this, and you just can't ignore it anymore. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to call that 4 because we got the pullback right here and then rip right back into it. And where are we at right now? We're laying siege once again into that area. It is pressing. So, and in fact, actually, it even in the pre-market, if you look here, we even actually ramped over it for a quick second, 713.38, and pulled back under. So can't ignore this. You know what? If it feels like it's too much, it does. I get that. But you know what? I'm from another planet. I'm not even from Earth anymore. So if this thing wants to go long, I will day trade it. I am not swing trading into these levels, okay? But I'll definitely day trade it. I could possibly even think about holding something on this. This is beautiful. This is a beautiful looking chart when you're looking at it. What are our levels? We're looking at 712.50 as your top level right here. You really want to see it do one of two things, right? You really want to see it actually build a consolidation here underneath of that and then bust out, okay? Or once we go, if it's already kind of hanging in this area where it's at right now, 711. What you'd like to see is actually, and I show this to you all the time, right? See this and then that. You want to actually buy on the pullback, okay? That's every time I don't buy on a pullback, I learn my lesson, and I've learned that lesson just long enough, right? So if I was wanting to get into this stock right here, let's say I was looking right here. Just going to do a quick lesson right here. Let's say I was looking right here, right? And I said, wow, you know what? It's running away with me. Let me go ahead and get in on it, like right here. So I get in on it right there, and then what does it do? It pulls back. And it takes me out. Maybe I put my stop underneath of that wick right there. That's not the way to play it, guys. That's not the way to play it. Okay. So here it is. Here's your support right here. Right. That's a daily support that we see right there. The stock's ripping up. Okay, it was ripped up without you. You didn't catch that move. You weren't happening to be at your computer. You took a break. You grabbed a cup of coffee. You came back and it ripped up without you. Say this is a 1 minute chart, 5 minute chart. It doesn't matter. Anytime chart like that. Okay, it doesn't matter. Draw yourself a trend line off of this now, and then if it breaks up above it, and also your candle structure here. Look at your candle structures: lower wicks, lower wicks, lower wicks, implying that actually this thing wants to move higher. This would have been a nice entry. There's probably some better entries. I don't have a horizontal thing. I'm just trying to quickly, the main thing I'm trying to say is don't buy on the rip, okay? Too many people are doing that type of thing. Look for your small pullback, especially if you're actually running into a rip. A 2-bar pullback is a beautiful thing, okay? All right, let's go over here and let's take a look at this on the 15-minute so I can give you your pre-market high, your pre-market lows, and kind of dig into the numbers a little bit deeper. And we're looking at 713 as your pre-market high that we already talked about. Your pre-market low is way down here at 708. So you are in this balance range right now. It's here's the middle of the balance range, just kind of eyeballing that. So we're a little bit upper middle balance range. It's nothing that's actually putting the new money longs off sides or the shorts off sides. You're coming back into your moving averages, so that's actually very constructive. If I actually take this and let's put on the 5, because the 5 is actually sloping up in this case. So we'll go ahead and we'll put it on for right now and apply that. I'll throw this off to the side. Okay. So your 5 is moving down, but look here, it actually picked up your 10 right here. So that's constructive. It picked it up off of this upper trend line for the weekly trend line that I have drawn in. It's a little far removed from the 20 at this stage and a little far removed from the 50. The way I like to get in is when these moving averages consolidate. You come in and then do a retest. This would have been a nice entry right here. You also have you got a level right here, 708 right there as your get out level. I love when it comes back, does a retest, and it shows the hold. Then you got a decision candle right here, and then a close over the decision candle, decisions made, and you could have had a nice little scalp through there. This is actually looking like a second leg breakup too, by the way, on this, because you actually had your first leg was right here. Those are never as strong as your second leg breakout. So there's your first leg, right? Then you have your second leg right here. And this one was much more impulsive because now it washed out these shorts right here that said, oh, no. You got the bulls are wrong. You're going down. So wiped those guys out and you had a nice move. So you can watch for those kind of things. Second, third legs, fourth legs, those usually have much more impulsive type of moves. Going to take this off now. All right, and we're going to look at max pain real quick for the SPY to once again round out like what are our numbers that we're thinking about here. So the max pain, and I feel like this has really been kind of helpful. Max pain for today is between 703 and 710, right? You get up above 710, we're going to start to get into some gamma squeeze, but it's not look at this, guys. You see the market's still really bearish. Look at this. Look at these guys compared to the calls. These call walls, they're not substantial. So it could rip easily above here. Max pain is 701. So we're already, the market maker's already scrambling a little bit. He's going to have to actually contribute to the buy side. So this also kind of goes into the technicals that are saying this market really wants to go up. Geopolitical news trumps everything. However, also going into this weekend, there's aircraft carriers going into the area. The ceasefire might be, done as of Sunday. I don't know. You know what? If you're holding through the weekend, you just assess your risks. That's all I got to say. On the economic calendar, let's take a look at that. We got the Michigan inflation report coming up. I think this is going to be pretty darn important. It only gets 2 stars from investing.com. But if this actually ends up being a blowout number, then it's going to affect the market because, the market is actually still pretty susceptible to what's going on with oil. And they're susceptible to what's going on with oil because oil is the inflation risk. The inflation risk is actually a risk on earnings, and it's a risk on the Fed actually lowering interest rates. So that actually does come into play. All right. I do have a pre-market report for you that I created. So let's take a quick look at that. The IGV, as we mentioned, ServiceNow broke IGV. So now it's the SMH is the only one that's actually holding up this market. Mag 7 is actually spending money like crazy. So the Mag 7's actually, a lot of the Mag 7's reporting next week. I believe that we're going to see people wanting to actually get in on these before earnings. So I'm looking for it to actually kind of run up into earnings. But then after earnings, I'm looking for it to maybe have an initial spike and then a pullback, because they're all going to be saying they're actually spending more money. I don't know that anybody's, if you're not spending the money and if you're not actually ahead of AI, you're going to get left behind. And Google doesn't want to get left behind. Meta, Amazon, none of these guys want to get left behind. So I do believe that we are reaching the top of this market, but I have a feeling we're going to actually make new highs before we reach the top. That's my put on my Swami hat question idea. However, I am perfectly fine with being wrong. Okay. XLK continues to be up. It's up 1.3%. IGV is actually kind of having a bounce, but I wouldn't trust it. However, there's certain stocks in there, like Microsoft, that I think might actually make a run over the next few days and continue to run going into earnings. And remember, Microsoft's been beaten down going into earnings, so it's different than some of the other stocks, right? The money also has been flowing into the Mag 7 over the last, say, couple of weeks, so that also has been playing a part in what's going on with the market right now. So take a look at your earnings for next week. You know what? This is from me working with AI to actually build a pre-market report, and I'm very excited that it's getting very close. I verified, what's going on Wednesday, except for ARM. I don't believe is reporting Wednesday, so that's incorrect. Okay, so let's go ahead and we'll just, just go ahead and mark that off. ARM, right? So ARM is not reporting, but they report the time after that anyhow. So, but all of these other guys, they are reporting. I did verify that. And so you also have your semis reporting. This is going to be a big day. Look at that Wednesday, guys. So going into Wednesday, I think people are trying to actually get in front of this. So put these guys on your list and see if maybe there's some movement in there. Apple's coming and reporting on Thursday as well. Apple's been a pretty strong stock. Palantir the following Monday and Tuesday. And AMD, oh my gosh, what the heck is going on with that stock? It's just been insane. So looking here, we also got, the Iran war, blah, 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 blah. Taco meat here, taco meat there. Turn me into a ping pong ball. I'm so tired of it. I'm tired of it, guys. All right, going into stagflation. Yes, this is from me looking at, the dashboards. Your dashboards are showing GDX down for the week, GLD down for the week, silver down slightly, down for today. And it just seems to me that it's pricing in the idea that, interest rates are going up, right? Yep, we'll do USO. Thank you there, Alvaro. Absolutely. All right, so XLY. It looks like XLY is actually down for the week, and so is our RST. So there's that. Michigan sentiment report, I already talked about that. Your pre-market earnings. Session bias, long energy and semis. This continues to be the theme: long energy and semis. Don't buy, don't chase. Okay, you'll get a chance to get in. Possible shorts, right? I told you for the longest time that I'm short-term bearish on the precious metals, but I'm long-term bullish. So continue to watch this. As we find a bottom on this, we're in a macro cycle on these things. It's going to be a great time to buy. But now is not the time to buy, I don't believe. So the defensives, kind of watch these guys. And that's it. That's it for that. So let's get into some charts. Before I do that, I'm not going to do the 20 thing that I did yesterday, okay? I am going to pull up my 20 charts, but I'm just going to do kind of a macro overview on it, just do a quick look on it. Because I do actually, when I'm trading during the day, I'll actually look at this and try to get a bias as to, like, what does the market look like in regards to the charts. So right now, AMD is crushing it. Apple is sideways. Amazon is up towards the highs. Boeing is it's actually running up into the highs. Look at this, running into the highs. Coin, it's actually got a little bit of a downtrend, but it's in a triangle. Google is somewhat mid-range here. Intel, killing it. Look at that, 21.84%. Put Intel on your list for the day, 24%. Meta's ripping down, okay? So Meta's got earnings next week. Is that one that's actually going to go up? This one here is actually a little bit of a downflow. I gave you that one. That was one of my numbers I gave to you yesterday right there, right? So is this actually the buyback? Look, it's on the 200 period moving average. You need to put Microsoft on your list to take a look at that. Micron has been sideways, but it looks like it's trying to actually bust out, right? So is it going to bust out of this 493.50? Netflix, bearish to Netflix. It's got to get up above 94 at least for me to be thinking that's actually a turnaround story. We're bearish Netflix. Nvidia, we called this number. We said 200. It's a possible pullback to 200. Look at this. 200 ended up holding, and now it's pulling back up. So Nvidia, this was actually called out yesterday. Nvidia's middle of the road. I do think that we're a little bit bullish over that pullback, and honestly, with what's going on with the semis, wouldn't be surprised to see if it got a little love. Silver is it's got a nice dead cat bounce right here that people can sell into. It's going down. It looks like it wants to go down. The semis are incredibly sideways, but they're putting pressure constantly on this. Not the semis, the SPY on that. Tesla, Tesla might end up being a turnaround, but it's not a turnaround on the hourly chart. It's got to turn around on the hourly before I can actually buy it for the daily. TSM, look at this. TSM going over top of the highs, continuing to float up. USO had a nice pullback into the 50-period moving average. And in fact, actually, if you look at it, I'm going to draw my arrow like a trend line right here. Kind of has a little bit of a trend line, almost a channel, in fact. So USO is actually up. We're looking at USO going up and then Visa going down. So that's what we're looking at. Just a quick overview of those charts. Not going to dig into them. We're just going to do an overview. So once again, it kind of actually falls into the line of like what I was talking about earlier with what are the sectors that we're looking at that's going to go up? What are the sectors that we're looking at that we think are going to go down? Let's go ahead and take a look at USO. Guys, put your requests in this in the chat. I am open for requests right now, okay? Because I've done the Mag 7 with you. I've done the 20 lightning round yesterday. So let's just open this wide open for requests. Alvaro wants to see USO. Alvaro, you got it, okay? So Alvaro was first to the board asking for a request. All right, what are we looking at on the daily chart? On the daily chart, we put in a snapback low right here, and this is significant. We put in this snapback low right there. We ended up like breaking under it, coming over it, reclaiming that snapback high, reclaiming that snapback high, picking up some support off this 20-period moving average. And then what happened? Geopolitical news trumped. I love that I could use Trump like that. Geopolitical news trumped the technicals. That will trump the technicals right now. What happened? It ripped down. And you got yourself a nice hammer candle right here because it was buy support. You had an island reversal on one day right there, a one-day island reversal. And from that spot up, it's actually ripping up. And it's hardly has any overlap, hardly any pullback. We are getting a little bit of a topping tail on it today, though. So a little bit of a topping tail. And if we just go ahead and zoom that in now to the daily, you can see also that what we've done is we've actually kind of just really stayed in this range right here. And while we're in that range right here, the snapback's actually kind of marking for us the center of the range, which should provide support. Not only that, because we are also getting dynamic support off of this 20-period moving average, the spike under and then the recapture and then retesting it right here on the low on that candle and then carrying it up. And then your moving averages on the daily, prices above every single moving average. Your 5, 10, and 20 are turning around, so it means that it was going sideways for a while, but your 5, 10, and 20 they're neutral, but they're getting support off the 50 and the 200. So the 50 and the 200 are coming up to push this up. So that is actually a very nice setup to go up. Okay, a very nice setup to go up. If we're looking at it on the 4-hour chart, it looks like we actually got ourselves a little bit of a trend line right here. And in fact, I'm actually going to go ahead and draw that in on my chart because it deserves to be drawn in. So here, do it like this. And there you are. I'm going to copy that over. So I'm going to duplicate it. We're going to carry it over to here. And then I'm actually going to show you guys something that you should be doing when you're drawing these trend lines. If a trend line's significant enough for you that you really wanted to draw it, it's probably significant enough that you actually want to actually run an alert off of it, right? So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make it blue because that lets me know it's a daily trend line. It's pretty much a daily trend line. And then here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to set an alert. Crosses below, there's an alert. When it crosses above, I want another alert too. So I'm going to actually set one up here. In case you don't know how to do that, now you do. Daily, it's a UTL actually, guys. So I'm going to need to change that UTL on the bottom. I'm not going to do it right now though. And I'm going to set another alert on that. So that's actually, if I end up buying off of that bottom and across above, that's my sell zone, scalping in and scalping out. So there's your trend right there. So draw that, Alvaro, draw that trend on your chart. You got that? You still with me, Alvaro? We got the bottom on this. We got pivots everywhere on the bottom right here. We got 129, 129 twice, 129 3 times, 4 times, 5 times, 6 times. 129 is the number on the bottom. We also got a pivot low right here. Isn't that fascinating that we got that pivot low right off of that trend line? And that number is 131. Got a nice bounce. It's underneath of the 20-period moving average, but the 20-period moving average is actually pulling up. So it almost has a gravitational force on it to actually lift this stock up. Also, it actually snapped under and then ripped over this 50-period moving averages. So on price is actually slightly underneath the moving averages right now, but it's actually, the moving averages are actually very nicely set up to kind of help the momentum to go forward on the 1 hour chart. Guys, any requests for, okay, we got NVIDIA, SK. I can always depend on you, SK. Appreciate your support. Always in the house. Guys, give me some tickers to look at, okay? You know what? You guys actually sometimes help me out, right? It's not a one-way street. We're a family here together. We're trying to beat the stock market. The stock market's against us. Let's do this together, all right? What do we got here? We got a trading range that we're in right now. And your range on the pre-market is really wide. Look at this range on the pre-market, and man, it had a substantial rip down on this too. Probably once again talk about the extending the treaty or extending the ceasefire or whatever. But you got yourself a very nice snapback low on that. Here's your pivot. I mean, it's got a snapback low and it's got a pre-market low at the 131. I think I already called that out. In the mid-range, you're 133.5. So that mid-range actually, I think, is going to provide some pretty good support. It's trying to push back up into this snapback high, which is 136.68. That's also your pre-market high. And your moving averages right now, they're on the 15-minute chart. They're somewhat sideways when you look at it, sideways to slightly down. When you see the red like this, here, let me get a little closer to this. When you see the red like that, that's actually just slightly down. It doesn't mean that it's just actually beginning to roll over is what that's telling you. But if the price can get up above those moving average numbers right here, it'll actually turn that up pretty quickly. So it's basically sideways right now between the 5 and the 50, with the 200 giving good strong support to the upside. Right now it's slightly stacked, but when you're sideways, stack doesn't really mean anything. Stack means something when you're either moving up or moving down. Okay, so that's a little information about whether SMAs are stacked or not. It doesn't make any difference if you're sideways. All right, so what are we looking at? We got, okay, now we're getting some requests in the house. NVIDIA. They used to be called the stock to rule them all. Stock to rule them all. NVIDIA, it's bullish. I haven't been bullish on this stock for a while. I do believe, once again, I think they're having some problems in regards to actually can they maintain their margins, but they do have a moat in regards to the software, and if people want to actually change off of them, it's going to cost them a lot of money to get out of NVIDIA. So a lot of companies have already bought into NVIDIA, and so they do kind of have that moat, and maybe that's why you're just not seeing any kind of pullback on NVIDIA. And this is different than the last time. And so I'm finally having to acknowledge that. This is what I'm looking at right here, what you see me just draw in. I drew in a bull flag on this incredible move all the way down from 164. I did call that number, but I also was kind of hoping for further downside. I thought it was going to roll into this because this was such a heavy zone. I didn't think it would run through this like butter. Typically, that is not the way stocks actually behave. That also lets you know just how serious these buyers are who are buying this on the lows. These are probably not retail buyers. These are your whales that are buying and wanting to hold this thing for 5 or 10 years. They finally got a chance to get in. They're not going to sell very quickly, and that's why you see it consolidating across this zone here. This is bullish, especially if you get up above that 205. This could rip in a heartbeat and actually have a gamma squeeze. You have a nice tightening right here on the 4-hour time frame chart of the 50 period with the 20 period moving average, along with the price action, and you got a snapback low really close at the 197 mark. So this actually looks like, once again, with my idea about actually possibly wanting to actually try to get in ahead of earnings, this might be one of the ones that actually gets in ahead of earnings. You do have a little bit of near-term overhead supply over here, so it's going to be a little choppy today to try to get through all of this. You do have that catalyst, though, from yesterday in regards to Intel, and the Intel thing possibly could be a pretty decent catalyst for this stock. And the price, as we are sitting here in the pre-market right now, it looks like it's just slightly up 0.44%. So we're not seeing a whole lot of influence on that. We do have this pullback right here, and this is what I just got done telling you. If you want to actually buy in on a stock, there's the 200.18. If it actually pulls out above that and then you get support over 200.9 or takes red out, then you could actually look at possibly taking this long. So you could even possibly think about doing something like that in the pre-market. I hate pre-market trading because occasionally I want to walk away from my computer. I like to have my stop loss in place, especially when we're in a condition like we're in right now. Where are we at right now in the pre-market? You're really center of the road right here, just like the other ones right now. So nothing to talk about there. You do have a very nice consolidation range right here underneath of you providing support. So that is buyer support. It's going to be really tough for the bears to actually rip down through here. They're going to have to, it's going to take a little while to rip down through there. So that's actually looking very nice as a support base on that. Your prior day high is 203.83. If it ends up getting out through here and retaking the pre-market high, then that will be actually your first area of probable resistance right there at 203.83. And that actually, after that, it's pretty much it's somewhat blue skies until you maybe get even into this 212. So it's got trend resistance right here that it's been dealing with. I showed you that yesterday. So yeah, it's a little bit on the bull side on that one. All right, what else we got here? We got 9 o'clock on the chart on the time frame right now. NBIS. I don't know anything about NBIS, see, and that's why I decided to actually do a charting session with you guys. NBIS, very nice, 166. That's right in the range that I like to sell puts off of. Whoops. Actually, let's do this. So once again, you got yourself a very nice bull flag on the daily time frame, right? There's your bull flag. Okay, you got yourself a snapback. So the snapback, you get above the snapback, you take out that seller. That's actually bullish. 170 is also a pivot right next to that snapback. Your snapback's at 166, so it's 4 points away. So even if you got up above this, it's actually gonna struggle right through this area right here, I would imagine. You've been going sideways now for a while, as we've already pointed out, and you're on this sideways zone right here. This is where your support and your resistance is at. It's sitting right at support resistance. So it really needs to make its decision right here. Is it going to go under that or go over it? Because it's kind of almost sitting right on that line right now. So looking over here on the lower time frame chart, you can see we got a pivot right here at 163.65, and it's run into that. It's ran up all the way from 152. So this actually, it's going to need to get above these pivots right here to actually be a long. You're in a choppy range right here. It's not a lot you can do with this right now. I don't know that this one's something you can do a lot with. You're right here in between this range, and I like to trade on the edge right in the middle. So there you go. Get above 170. It's blue skies territory. Get down below, what's this number right here? Get down below this number here, 153. You're probably going to come pretty quickly down into the 140, 150 range. And this 20 period moving average is going to pick you up. So I wouldn't be surprised to see this. I don't know anything about this stock. I would be surprised to see it actually pull back a little bit. But if the markets actually get really bullish, this thing could rip up. Okay. Oh, it's 9 o'clock. I got time to do one more. And maybe we'll do two more. If I could try to do them really quickly, guys. AMD. What are you going to say about this? You know, if you're trying to sell against this, you're somebody who's like standing in front of a freight train. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull a regression channel on this and see if it'll actually give us any kind of indication on anything. It's at the top of the regression channel. Do you buy here? No. You missed the move. Okay, that's about all I could say on that. All right. If it does get up above, if it gets up above this, you could day trade it. Okay. If it gets above this, because it did the same thing yesterday, gets above this, you can day trade this. Okay. That's the only thing you can do with that. Okay. On the day trade. So on going below it, you know, it's probably going to come into this middle range right through here, 333 hits, 326 into this range right here. You know, you go ahead and try to start looking for a bottom on that. You know, look for a doji, look for a hammer candle or a inverse head and shoulders, and you know, then maybe try to take this long. I don't know that it's going to make the bottom of that regression channel. Okay, it's probably going to actually pick up some support, generally speaking, in this area right here. Okay, that's my take on AMD. Palantir. Palantir is in a bear flag. Okay. I had a saying I was coming up with about that. Palantir is in a bear flag right here in the near term. All right, so there's your bear flag on Palantir. It's in a consolidation zone there as well. But bear flags don't always have to break down to the bottom side. Palantir does have some, you know, the fact that it's a defense kind of a stock. I'm not defensive. I'm talking about the Department of Defense kind of stock. It kind of has that. You're right now in a balance range right here with Palantir sitting at the lows of that bear flag movement. Okay, you're looking at a pre-market high of 143.79. Okay, and then you're looking at a pre-market low of 100. We'll say 142.25. You also got 41.75. You got your prior day close right there. You got your pivot. You got two pivot lows. You got a pre-market low there. So this is significant. You also got even really right close to that range, about 142.72. All of this right here, it's actually a very nice consolidation, guys. You might want to put this one on your list to take a look at. So we break out above, look for a pullback, and then support, and then actually go long. A breakout below, go short. Okay, so there it is right there, right here. And if you break out below, you actually could get a continuation, you know, off of here on the prior day low. It'll probably end up doing one of these numbers, you know, maybe even run all the way up into that, but then it'll come back and it'll retest again. I would take my out on that prior day low, but then I'd look for it to actually, if it's continuing to have some strength, to actually then do that. Okay. That's it for today, guys. Have a great week. I will see you in the next session.